Ooh La La. As I mentioned, they're an acoustic quartet performing classic jazz, Parisian folk and pop music with a French twist. They're currently touring rural venues here in Lincolnshire, with Allington Village Hall next on their list this coming Friday. That's the voice of vocalist and accordion player Fifi Lemaire, and she joins me on the phone. Fifi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Fifi, that is really lovely. I can just imagine anybody listening to BBC Radio Lincolnshire now getting the table and chairs out on the patio and sipping a glass of something long and very cold, listening to that music. That's gorgeous. That's a track from the album, isn't it?
Yes, that's our latest album called Encore.
And it sounds lovely, and that's your voice.
It is.
No less. So how's the tour going, Fifi?
It's been going very, very well. We've had 5 dates in Lincolnshire, and we've been touring all around Britain. We've been in Hampshire, and we're going to Lancashire, and we also often play in London, and wherever we can work, really. Now,
this is interesting. You were born in London.
I was.
But you've very much got a French voice there, haven't you? You're from Paris.
I am. Well, my mum is French and my dad is Scottish, and I was born in London, right. And I went as a baby to France, and that's where I was raised. I was raised in Paris, and that's the music I'm singing, Parisian music.
How big an influence has Paris been for you?
Well, very much. I always loved all the 1950s films and all that kind of Parisian atmosphere. And that's what I try and recreate with Ooh La La.
So where did you start with your music interest? How young were you?
Well, I was about 20 years old, because before that I used to be ice skating, figure skating, and I couldn't do both because they're both very hard work, and one thing at the time is better. But it's still, the ice skating gave me the discipline to practice, which is always good.
So you were a figure skater, so we could have seen you at the Olympics?
No, not the Olympics, unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not sure. It's very, very hard work, sport at a high level.
So when did you call it a day?
Oh, I was about 13, but I started when I was 4, so it still was 8 years, 4 hours a day, every day of my life, so it was a long, long time of ice skating.
Did you always want to sing, though?
I did. I loved ice skating. I loved the freedom of the slide, you know, and I get that with singing as well, and I'm singing with fantastic musicians, and the interaction is really nice, and I didn't have that ice skating, but it's a little bit the same, really.
So when did you first get into your singing?
Well,
how did that all happen?
I used to be a tour guide on the boats on the river. I used to speak French, English, German and Spanish because I've got good memory.
So you were on the River Seine in Paris?
Yes, on the Seine, on the river. You know, those boats that you see going under the bridges. Because I loved the whole atmosphere of Paris, and I wanted to talk about it to people that came to visit.
So we can't miss this opportunity. You've got the Eiffel Tower coming up on your left-hand side. So just give me a little bit of a sample of your commentary. If I'd been on my boat, I've gone to Paris for a romantic weekend, and there you are, you're the tour guide, you're the commentary on the boat. Just give me a quick example of what you'd be saying. Let's transport ourselves onto the River Seine in Paris. Here we go.
Eh bien, bonjour mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue au bateau parisien. Notre croisière va durer 1 heure, pendant laquelle nous verrons 22 des 34 ponts de Paris et les 2 îles, l'île de la Cité et l'île Saint-Louis.
All right. So what was that?
Welcome on board. We're going to we're going to see the 22 or the 34 bridges of Paris and see the 2 islands, because there are 2 islands on the river.
How lovely. I could have been there, Fifi.
I'm sure you have.
Could have been there. Now, your father was very much into jazz, wasn't he?
Very much so, yes.
So was that inevitable that you were going to follow in his footsteps?
Well, he never actually played. He just listened to music all the time. And as a little girl, I was listening to Billie Holiday all the time, and Frank Sinatra and Louis Armstrong. And he used to take me out whenever he went out in the evenings, to the despair of my mother. And but I got to see all the bars and all that at a very young age, and I really loved it all. I thought it was very full of life and very romantic, really.
Lovely. Now, we're going to talk some more about the band, about the members in just a moment, and where you're going and how's it all going. Let's have a track from the CD, Ooh La La, Encore. Just pick a track for us.
Les amants d'un jour?
Moi, je suis les verres au fond du café. J'ai bien trop à faire pour pouvoir rêver. Et dans ce décor banal à pleurer, il me semble encore les voir arriver. Ils sont arrivés, se tenant par la main, les yeux dans les yeux comme 2 cheveux. chérubins portant le soleil. Ils ont demandé d'une voix tranquille un coin pour s'aimer au cœur de la ville. Et je me souviens avoir regardé d'un air attendri la chambre d'hôtel, papier jauni. Et quand j'ai fermé la porte sur eux, il y avait tant de soleil au fond de leurs yeux que ça m'a fait mal, ça m'a fait mal.
See, I'm transporting you to the streets of Paris this afternoon. Fifi La Mère, my guest from the jazz quartet Ooh La La, bringing a little bit of France to rural Lincolnshire, Fifi.
Yes, yes.
And you're at Allington Village Hall this coming Friday, aren't you?
We are. Rural Touring is organising all this for us, which is absolutely fantastic.
Is it all very French, the music that you do? I mean, I know we've heard a couple of tracks there.
We usually try and have a mixture because basically we play music, French music from the 50s. Some of it inspired of the 1880s, but it's still in the, in the kind of Edith Piaf kind of era, even though I sound nothing like her, and the music is very different because everything evolves. But so we also play jazz standards and also a few pop tunes that we arrange in an acoustic manner.
Oh, such as?
Perfect Day or Golden Brown, and just a few. Basically, they're songs I always wanted to sing, and we try and mix it so it all has the same kind of mood than the other French tune and the jazz standards. But I think it works really well, and it's a nice break because you can't sing the same kind of songs all evening, because it's nice to have a variation as well for the audience as well as for us.
Watch out for that CD. It's called Encore. It's by Ooh La La. We're talking to Fifi La Mère, lead vocalist and accordion player. Now, let's talk about the band. It's quite a talented lineup, as you mentioned earlier on. Just introduce them to us.
Well, there's Colin Oxley, who's absolutely fantastic. He plays guitar, and I've had the pleasure of working with him for the last 11, 12 years, and he's a joy. He's a joy to work with.
Yeah.
And he's on many ads that you can listen to on the television, so he's quite famous and renowned.
And who else?
There's Julian Farretto on the violin, who's absolutely astonishing as well. And he was the last member of the band to join, only 6 months after the others, so not too long. So I've been working with him as well for 11 years, and he's from Australia. I just forgot to mention the bass player. You wouldn't like it. It's Julian Berry.
Oh, well, no, he's on the phone already saying, why didn't you mention me as well? No, Julian, we mustn't forget him. And because you two go back a long way, don't you?
Well, we started the band together.
Yeah.
And then Colin joined us, and then Julian Farretto.
Yeah, lovely. So Allington Village Hall, a bit of a mix, pop, Parisian folk, jazz. It's all there.
Yes, it is. It is. When we tour through rural touring, sometimes the organisers get everyone to dress up, and some people are dressed up as snails or frogs or
Onions.
D'Artagnan,
Yeah.
Coco Chanel, anything French.
How lovely. Good luck with the rest of what you're doing.
Thank you.
Ooh La La. As I mentioned, they're an acoustic quartet performing classic jazz, Parisian folk and pop music with a French twist.